Hello and welcome back to the most amazing channel on the internet. I'm your host Rebecca Felgate and I have been loving the Shane Dawson Sociopath series. Because I love it so much, I've decided to make the top 10 scary sociopaths throughout history. What a sociopath is something that Shane is trying to get to the bottom of. It's basically a personality disorder that is characterized by certain traits like rarely feeling guilt, remorse or shame, constant lying, unreliability, recklessness, impulsive behavior, and having a hard time with the concept of love. Still, it's not an exact science. People with so-called sociopathic traits can also appear charming because they may be confident and bold in the life of the party, but according to the Shane documentary, there is no reasoning with a sociopath. They'll not care about you and they will use other people as tools or objects. A lot of these people do turn to a life of crime, so are there any identifiable sociopaths throughout history? Okay, before we get into this video, do make sure you leave a thumbs up if you like this kind of content and let me know if you think there are any sociopaths out there. Love reading your comments. Coming in at number 10, we have the much discussed Jake Paul. This is very much the topic of conversation surrounding sociopaths right now, isn't it? Shane Dawson's series The Mind of Jake Paul spends hours trying to determine whether or not that he is in fact a sociopath. The 21-year-old YouTuber has over 17 million YouTube subscribers and is known for his obnoxious Team 10 antics. In Shane's docu-series, he discusses how Jake seems to be power-hungry, unpredictable, bold, unconcerned with danger, and seemingly not compassionate towards others, all the markings of a sociopath. Is YouTube as a platform encouraging his behavior? I guess the scary thing is that someone so popular and adored and looked up to by kids could well be a sociopath. Will they then grow up to think it's cool to play cruel pranks on their friends in order to chase power and fame? The jury is still out on whether or not Jake might be a sociopath, but I can't wait to see the rest of Shane's series. I sense that Jake himself is actually pretty nervous about it. Earlier this week he tweeted, "I love Shane and I'm trusting him to carry out the rest of the series. I hope he can actually make it clear who I am and why I've done certain things and show the side of me that no one has ever seen. That's why I agreed to do this series. The sociopath stuff doesn't interest me." He then continued by saying, "I guess the only thing I'm concerned about is that you still haven't made it clear that you're determining whether or not I'm a sociopath." Okay, moving on. Some sociopaths have an innate need for power and they do not see a problem abusing people. Some sociopaths have flown under the radar, others have had their worlds come crashing down when they've been outed. Luckily, this sociopath was stopped in his tracks when a vast number of women called him out. We have HARVEY Weinstein at number 9. So we know that powerful Hollywood film producer HARVEY Weinstein was a sex predator, but was he a sociopath? If the words of his accusers and the people who worked with him are anything to go by, then perhaps. To the outside world, HARVEY was charming, charismatic, charitable and powerful, but behind closed doors, he was a narcissist. He was manipulative, angry, a pathological liar and a predator. Now over 50 women have accused him of either directly abusing them or behaving inappropriately towards them. There is an excellent article on Just Not Said blogspot that discusses Weinstein's personality and why it is fitting for a sociopath. It is a longer read, but if you have the time then I'd recommend reading it. The article holds him as a sociopath specifically because of his natural flair for manipulation and his ability to see people as tools and objects. They also argue his reaction since the scandal has revealed his emotional falseness. Was he a sociopath as well as a sex predator? Quite possibly. So it's estimated that 4% of the population are sociopaths, which means there are hundreds of millions out there. Obviously not all sociopaths are cruel, callous people, but it seems that this 4% are responsible for 50% of crime and are more predisposed to murder. With that in mind, the rest of the sociopaths on this list have been found guilty of murder or been linked to killings. Coming in at number 8, we have O.J. Simpson. Is O.J. Simpson a sociopath? That is something that Shane Dawson alludes to in his Mind of Jake Paul video. O.J. Simpson was a former well-known NFL player when his wife, Nicole Brown, was famously murdered along with her friend Ron Goldman in 1994. While the jury found him not guilty, it has been frequently suggested that he absolutely did do it. As well as being a sportsman, Simpson was an actor and participated in brand endorsements. He held himself in high esteem, was charismatic and had a lot of power. A lot of known sociopaths have been outed as such when they routinely commit crimes and they're seemingly unaffected. After the death of Nicole, Simpson did threaten to commit suicide and cried tears at his trials. The thing is with sociopaths though is that they'll do anything to save their own skins, even faking normal human emotion. The police officer Detective Tom Long, who convinced Simpson not to kill himself on that notorious police chase, has since given interviews in which he has said himself that he thinks that O.J. Simpson is a sociopath. Again, we don't know for sure, but he does seem to fit the profile. Sociopaths need someone to control, which is worth bearing in mind as we discuss JODI ARIAS at number 7. JODI has popped up on a few of our top 10 lists. She's the woman who mercilessly killed her boyfriend Travis Alexander in 2008. JODI has been called the living embodiment of a sociopath by a number of people, perhaps most notably a university crime expert. She was seemingly charming and polite, but she was harboring a dark side, notably a deep need to control. When she found her boyfriend was losing interest, she stabbed him 27 times as well as shooting him. When she was at trial, she showed no remorse or emotion in general. When she was incarcerated, she displayed her need to control by becoming possessive over her cellmate, even tattooing her name on her. Her former cellmate also claimed that she was a sociopath, so maybe she was. Was she just a jealous ex-girlfriend, or was she a cold-hearted sociopath? It's up for debate. Coming into number 6, we have John Wayne Gacy. John Wayne Gacy is a classic model of a sociopath. Outwardly to his community, he acted jovial, he was charming and his community really liked him. He was known to dress up as a clown at local barbecues and generally blended in. Behind closed doors though, he killed 33 men and hid them in the crawl space of his house. Gacy began to give the game away when he divorced his wife. He began to lose that power that sociopaths need, as well as a wife character to present him as a normal man. His carefully constructed veneer began to crack. After he was found out and arrested for the killing of young men, Gacy denied the murders. Then when he was held accountable by evidence, he tried to pass off the blame to accomplices. Clearly Gacy had a complete lack of empathy for others and did not believe that rules applied to him. Coming into number 5, we have Ian Brady. Ian Brady has often been called the killer with no remorse, and that certainly does seem to be the case. The male Moors murderer certainly fits the role of sociopath. He lacked empathy and remorse, he was volatile but intelligent, he was impulsive and he was charming. He did not feel that rules applied to him. As an adult, he kept a low profile, working as a punctual and quiet employee at a chemical distribution company. His accomplice Myra Hindley was not a sociopath. She fell in love with Brady to the point of obsession. For his part, he knew that he could control her, and sociopaths, as we know, love control. Hindley showed remorse and emotional grief over her part in the killing of 5 youths. Brady never did. In jail, he was diagnosed as a psychopath, and as the jig was up, he wanted to live only in solitary confinement. Coming into number 4, we have Delphine LELAURIE. A lack of emotion means that sociopaths need to work hard to try and showcase a sense of humanity. What happens when they're exposed? Delphine LELAURIE was a socialite and murderess. She married 3 times and was widowed twice. Her first 2 husbands were members of high society that secured her in her quest for power. Her 3rd husband was a younger but still wealthy man that she could manipulate. Delphine liked power and status and was at one point a very well-respected socialite in New Orleans. It seems that LELAURIE had a temper, and in private she tortured her slaves. In public though, she would appear nice to them. Her depravity and abuse of power was only discovered when a fire broke out at her home and exposed her torture chamber and imprisoned slaves. It was also discovered that she tortured slaves to death and buried them in her garden. She fled to France to retain her reputation and status. Coming into number 3, was Adolf Hitler a sociopath? Hitler was charming and well-spoken, and hell-bent on power. He was a master manipulator, and he managed to work his way from nothing to becoming the unelected supreme leader of an entire country. Hitler was behind the death of millions of people, and he showed no remorse. He had a girlfriend and later wife, although she attempted suicide twice as she felt that he didn't love her. Of course, sociopaths can't love anyone, so perhaps this was an early clue. Like sociopaths throughout history, Hitler was volatile and angry in private. It is likely his whole ideology was a sick, glorified power trip. Hitler, however, did have a penchant for painting, which has led some people to question his ability to fulfill the sociopath role. Art, of course, is an emotional expression, but But that being said, if you look at his work, his creations are by and large realist style depictions of buildings and actually don't display any real feeling. This is perhaps why he failed to get into art school. Ooh, very gross. At number 2, we have Elizabeth Bathory. Elizabeth was a cold and unfeeling member of high society in Hungary in the late 16th and early 17th century. Outwardly, she seemed polite and civilized. She likely did not love her husband. She was betrothed aged 10 and married at 15, although she did manage to control him and he knew of her depravity. She was sexually promiscuous and emotionless and unsympathetic. She began beating servants to reiterate her power. She was rumored to have angry outbursts, but at first nobody suspected that she was preying on peasant girls, torturing them and bathing in their blood. It is thought that she was the most prolific female serial killer of all time, and eventually she was found out. She showed no remorse when she was caught and clearly believed that she was above the law. That's actually because she was. Under Hungarian law at that time, it was illegal to try and condemn a citizen of noble birth. It was decided that she would remain under house arrest for the rest of her life. We only have paintings to go on, but her eyes are cold and dead. Okay, for the number 1 slot, I have picked an absolute textbook sociopath. We have the killer Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy was a well-documented sociopath and is a true example of one too. The murderer even confessed that when he was young, he didn't know what made people want to be friends. He said, "I didn't know what underlay social interactions." He learned to be charismatic and charming to get what he wanted. That being said, he never let anyone close to him. In his early years, he was impulsive and showed a total disregard for the law, but he was intelligent and scarily, he went on to study psychology. From here, he learned how a human is supposed to act and he played pretend very well. For a while, he worked at a suicide hotline crisis center and was baptized, and also worryingly got a steady government job. Also really worrying sociopath behavior did come before his murder spree. He was in a long-term relationship with a woman that he introduced as his fiancée, but then he coldly broke it off with her by ghosting her. It seems that he only wanted to prove that he could marry her. He began his killing spree in 1974 and used his learned charm to murder over 30 women. Ted Bundy did not show a scrap of remorse and considered guilt a weakness. So guys, that was a really interesting list. That was the top 10 sociopaths throughout history. Again, my eyes are absolutely glued to Shane's documentary. So far as I know, there hasn't been a discussion this big about the mental disorder on YouTube, so it is very, very, very interesting. The question is, can they help it? Do they deserve treatment? What can we do about it? Can we spot a sociopath? A lot of interesting thoughts, so please do leave me some comments in the comments section down below. For now though, do let me know if you've been watching the Shane Dawson series. Also leave a thumbs up on this video, share it with a friend, and stay subscribed for more most amazing lists. I'm your host Rebecca Felgate. See you next time.